Daphne and Ian's French Chateau dream was already one of the most impossible renovations on HGTV. A 500-year-old estate, endless repairs, strict budgets, crumbling rooms, leaks, mold, fungus, family pressure, and a wedding business that has to keep the whole place alive. But now everything has changed. Because Daphne and Ian are not just trying to save a chateau anymore, they are preparing to bring a baby into it. And suddenly, the dream that once looked romantic, magical, and brave now feels a little more dangerous than ever. For fans of Castle Impossible, this baby news was beautiful. Daphne and Ian revealed that they are expecting their first child, and the moment with Daphne's grandmother was emotional, sweet, and very much in the spirit of the show. This has always been a family story. Daphne inherited the chateau after her grandfather passed away, and the whole renovation has been tied to legacy, memory, and keeping something precious alive. So, when Daphne talked about 3 generations living together at the chateau, it felt like the story had come full circle. But this is where the fairy tale gets complicated, because a chateau is not a normal house. This is not a cozy suburban fixer-upper where the biggest problem is choosing tile for a bathroom or repainting a nursery wall. Daphne and Ian are living inside a massive historic property that still has unfinished rooms. Construction zones, old infrastructure, repairs waiting around every corner, and business spaces that must be finished if the estate is going to survive financially. That changes the meaning of baby news completely. A baby brings joy, but it also brings urgency. It brings deadlines. It brings safety questions that cannot be ignored. Suddenly, every loose wire matters. Every exposed outlet matters. Every room with torn-out walls matters. Every nail, every ladder, every dusty corridor, every half-finished project becomes more serious. Before, the danger was about money, time, and whether the chateau could be restored. Now the danger is personal. That is why this new chapter feels so intense. Daphne and Ian's dream has not stopped. In fact, Season 2 is pushing harder than ever. HGTV has shown that the couple is focusing on renovations that can help grow their wedding and event business. That means rooms are not being restored only for beauty. They are being restored for survival. The chateau has to earn. The events have to work. The guest experience has to be memorable enough to help pay for the next round of repairs, and that is a heavy burden. For 2 people who are also preparing to become first-time parents, Season 2 has already placed huge pressure on them. The projects include a honeymoon suite in the Dove Tower, a tea salon, a dungeon tavern, a library, and the gatehouse for Daphne's grandmother. Each one sounds magical when you say it quickly, but behind those beautiful words are real renovation headaches. A Dove Tower is not a basic bedroom. A dungeon tavern is not a simple basement makeover. A historic gatehouse is not a guest cottage that can be fixed over a weekend. These spaces come with old walls, strange layouts, approvals, plumbing problems, electrical challenges, and the constant battle between preserving history and making the place usable. That is where the danger really grows, because Daphne and Ian are not just decorating. They are trying to make ancient spaces safe, functional, and profitable. They have to keep the soul of the chateau while also adding modern comfort. Guests need bathrooms, heat, light, water, clean finishes, and safe access. A baby needs even more. A baby needs protected rooms. Stable floors, secure outlets, no exposed hazards, no dust-filled construction areas, and a calm space away from the chaos. And according to recent updates, that baby-proofing challenge is very real. Ian has talked about the nursery area being close to the office and already mostly baby-proofed. But the bigger issue is the rest of the chateau. There are rooms where walls are torn out. There are nails. There are spaces that are not ready. That sounds normal for a renovation show, but it feels very different when a newborn is about to enter the story. This is the part fans may not think about when they see the beautiful drone shots and romantic castle views. The chateau looks like a dream from far away. But up close, it is still a living construction site. And a living construction site becomes a very different place when a baby is coming. Daphne and Ian have always been willing to take risks. That is part of why viewers love them. They left behind a simpler life and took on a property most people would never touch. They use creativity, hard work, and family support to solve problems that look impossible. They are not afraid of dusty rooms, broken spaces, or projects that seem too ambitious. But parenthood changes the emotional weight of those risks. Before the baby news, if something went wrong, it affected the project. Now, if something goes wrong, it affects the family, And that is why the title of this story matters. Daphne and Ian's Chateau dream gets more dangerous after baby news, not because the baby is a problem, but because the baby makes every unfinished problem more urgent. The stakes have grown overnight. The chateau is no longer just a family inheritance. It is no longer just a business plan. It is about to become a child's home. That is a beautiful idea, but also a terrifying one. Imagine trying to prepare for your first baby while also managing an estate full of renovations. Most parents worry about cribs, baby clothes, sleep schedules, and doctor appointments. Daphne and Ian have all of that, plus historic repairs, event planning, guest expectations, construction costs, and rooms that still need major work. There is something deeply emotional about that contrast. One side of their life is soft and personal. The other side is stone walls, broken infrastructure, and deadlines. And the timing could not be more dramatic. Season 2 is not slowing down. The chateau needs income. The wedding and event business needs spaces that feel finished, elegant, and unforgettable. Daphne wants guests to feel the emotion of the property. Ian wants the renovation to work practically. Together, they are creating rooms that are not just pretty for television, but useful for the future of the estate. But every hour spent on the business is also an hour taken from baby preparation. Every budget decision becomes harder. Do they fix what guests will see first, or what will make the home safer first? Do they prioritize the event spaces that bring in money, or the private corners where their child will live? That is the impossible choice at the heart of this new chapter, and fans are already watching with mixed emotions. On one hand, everyone wants to celebrate Daphne and Ian. Their baby news gives the show a softer, happier, more hopeful feeling. It reminds viewers that this chateau is not only a building, it is a home. It is family history. It is the place where a new generation may grow up, but on the other hand, viewers can see the pressure. They can see how much still needs to be done. They can see how huge the property is. They can see that this is not a normal renovation. And that creates the question HGTV fans love to debate. Are Daphne and Ian taking on too much at once? That question may become the biggest emotional hook of the season, because the show is no longer only asking whether they can save the chateau. Now it is asking whether they can save the chateau while protecting their peace, their marriage, their money, their business, and their growing family. That is a much bigger story, and this is where Castle Impossible becomes different from a regular home renovation show. The stakes are not fake. The problems are not small. Daphne and Ian are not simply flipping a house for profit. They are trying to keep a historic family property alive while building a future inside it. That makes every repair feel personal. That makes every setback feel heavier. And now, with a baby coming, every choice feels more emotional. The baby news may be the happiest update Castle Impossible has ever had, but it also exposes the scariest truth about the chateau. This dream is still unfinished. It is still fragile. It is still expensive. It is still full of risk. And Daphne and Ian are running out of time to make at least part of it feel safe enough for their next chapter. So what happens next? That is what fans will be watching closely. Will the nursery and family spaces become the new priority? Will the business renovations continue to lead the season? Will the Gatehouse, Dove Tower, Tea Salon, and Dungeon Tavern push them closer to financial stability or create even more pressure? And most importantly, can Daphne and Ian turn a 500-year-old chateau into a safe home for a newborn without losing the magic that made people fall in love with the property in the first place? For now, one thing is clear. Castle Impossible just became more emotional, more urgent, and more complicated. Daphne and Ian are not walking away from the dream. But the dream has changed. It now has a baby crib beside the blueprints, family hope beside the construction dust, and a ticking clock louder than ever before. And that is why this season feels so powerful. The chateau may be beautiful, but beauty does not make it safe. History does not make it easy. And love does not magically fix broken walls. Daphne and Ian still have to do the work. They still have to face the danger. And now, they have to do it with a baby on the way. So the question is not just whether Daphne and Ian can save the chateau anymore. The real question is, can they make the chateau safe before their family grows inside it?